The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles under a dome of pure crystal. 12 massive thrones sat in a perfect circle, each one built for a different alien species. For 10,000 years, these beings had ruled the galaxy. Today they met to discuss a problem that kept them awake at night. Ambassador Zethkar stood in the center of the circle. His scaled skin gleamed under the artificial lights. Forearms moved as he spoke, each gesture calculated for maximum effect. Behind him, holographic images showed human settlements across dozens of star systems. "Look at them," Zethkar hissed, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. 200 years ago, they could barely leave their own planet. Now they spread like a virus across our galaxy. The other council members shifted in their seats. Counselor Vexra, whose people had been spacefaring for 8,000 years, tapped her claws against her throne. "The humans grow too fast. My intelligence reports say they have weapons that match our own technology." "Impossible," rumbled Gorthak from his massive stone chair. His people were known for their strength and their slow, careful thinking. "No species advances that quickly. We have watched them. They are young and stupid." Zethkar's tail whipped behind him. "Stupid, they refuse every offer of council membership. They ignore our trade agreements. They protect species we have marked for harvest. Yesterday, a human ship destroyed 3 of our mining vessels that were collecting resources from a primitive world." The room fell silent. In the galaxy, the council's word was law. No one challenged their authority. No one except the humans. Counselor Mirren spoke next. Her voice was soft but carried great power. Her people were known for their wisdom and their long lives. "Perhaps we should study them more. Learn how they advance so quickly." "Study them?" Zethkar's eyes blazed red. "They are already studying us. Our spies report that humans have been watching our ships, copying our technology, learning our weaknesses. They treat their artificial minds as equals. They give rights to machines. This is madness." The eldest member of the council, Ancient Silthis, had been quiet during the debate. Her people were the first to achieve faster-than-light travel. They had helped create the council when the galaxy was young. When she spoke, everyone listened. "I remember when we first discovered the humans," she said, her voice like wind through old trees. "I thought they might be useful as workers or soldiers. I was wrong. They cannot be controlled. They think differently than any species we have encountered." Zethkar nodded quickly. "Exactly. They form bonds with other species without considering bloodlines or age or wisdom. They share technology freely. They ask questions instead of following orders. They are dangerous to everything we have built." "What do you suggest?" asked Counselor Threnip, whose people controlled most of the galaxy's communication networks. Zethkar activated another hologram. This one showed human military bases, their ship designs, their population numbers. "We give them one choice: complete surrender or total destruction. They will relocate to a single star system under our direct control. They will give us all their weapons and technology. They will accept council oversight of every aspect of their civilization." "And if they refuse?" asked Vexra. "Then we eliminate them," Zethkar said simply. "Every last human in the galaxy." The vote was quick. 12 voices spoke as one. The decision was unanimous. 3 days later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Earth's orbital station. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around her, dozens of screens showed data from across human space. The Council's ultimatum had arrived that morning. "Admiral," said Captain Torres, her aide, "the Council demands an answer in 72 hours. Sarah nodded. She had expected this day for years. Humans had been preparing since they first learned the truth about the Galactic Council. While the Council saw them as dangerous children, humans saw the Council for what they truly were: ancient bullies who crushed anyone who threatened their power. "Send a message to all colony governors," Sarah said. "Tell them to prepare for protocol exodus." "Ma'am?" Torres looked confused. "We're really going to run?" Sarah smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Run? No, Captain. We're going to disappear." Across human space, the message traveled faster than light. On New Terra, Governor Williams read the orders and activated hidden systems that had been built into every human settlement. On the mining world of Kepler's Hope, families gathered their most precious belongings and stepped into devices that looked like simple transportation pods. Dr. Lisa Park worked frantically in her laboratory on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. Her team had been developing quantum technology in secret for decades, technology that the Council didn't know existed. Technology that would change everything. Are the calculations ready? She asked her assistant, an artificial intelligence named Marcus who appeared as a simple blue light. All quantum field generators are synchronized, Marcus replied. The transition points are stable. We can begin evacuation whenever you give the order. On Earth, in the deep underground bunkers that the Council's spies had never found, massive machines hummed to life. These machines had been built using technology that humans had quietly borrowed and improved from dozen different species. The Council thought humans were just good at copying. They were wrong. Humans were good at making things better. General Rodriguez stood before a wall of monitors showing every human settlement in the galaxy. All stations report ready, Admiral. Sarah Chen took a deep breath. In 72 hours, she would give the Council their answer. But first, humanity would do something impossible, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. The first ships to disappear were the deep space scouts at the edge of human territory. One moment they were there sending regular reports. The next moment they were gone. No explosion, no distress signal, no debris. Just empty space where human ships used to be. Within hours, entire settlements began to vanish. The mining colony on Asteroid Base 7 simply stopped responding to calls. When Council ships arrived to investigate, they found empty tunnels and abandoned equipment. But no people. The disappearances spread like ripples across human space. Research stations, military bases, civilian colonies, all of them vanishing without a trace. The only sign that humans had ever been there were the empty buildings and the echoes of their presence. Zethkar watched the reports with growing confusion and anger. This was not how wars were supposed to work. Enemies were supposed to fight or surrender. They were not supposed to simply vanish. Find them, he roared at his subordinates. Use every sensor, every spy, every method we have. No species can hide an entire civilization. But as the hours passed and more human settlements disappeared, Zethkar began to realize that maybe, just maybe, the Council had underestimated humanity far more than they had ever imagined. The countdown continued. In less than 3 days, Admiral Sarah Chen would deliver humanity's answer to the Galactic Council's ultimatum. But by then, there might not be any humans left in the galaxy for the Council to threaten, or so it would seem. The message arrived exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum was delivered. It was short, simple, and sent from Admiral Sarah Chen herself. The transmission reached the Galactic Council's flagship through their most secure communication channels. We decline, the message said. Nothing more. Zethkar stared at the words on his screen. 2 simple words that would doom an entire species. He had expected defiance, perhaps threats or pleading. He had not expected such calm dismissal of the Council's power. Prepare the war fleets, he ordered his staff. We will start with their homeworld. Earth will burn first. But when the Council ships reached the solar system 3 hours later, they found something impossible. Earth was still there, blue and beautiful, spinning peacefully around its yellow star. The great cities were intact. The lights still worked. But there were no humans anywhere. Captain Veltar commanded the lead ship in Zethkar's fleet. His sensors showed normal readings from Earth's surface. Atmosphere was perfect for human life. Power grids were active. Even the orbital stations around Earth were functioning normally. But his life sign detectors found nothing. No humans, no heat signatures from living beings, nothing. Sir, his weapons officer reported, I'm detecting no targets. No ships, no defense systems, no life signs. Veltar had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had conquered stubborn worlds and crushed rebellious species. But he had never seen anything like this. Send down scout teams. Search every city, every building. There must be someone down there. The scout teams found empty streets and cities that looked like people had just stepped away for a moment. Coffee shops had fresh food still warm on the counters. Offices had computers still running, displaying work that had been interrupted mid-sentence. Cars sat at traffic lights that continued to change colors for no one. In New York, the scouts found a school where children's drawings still hung on the walls. The pictures showed humans playing with alien friends, traveling to distant stars, building impossible machines. In one drawing, stick figures with different numbers of arms and eyes stood together under a rainbow of alien suns. It's like they all just walked away, reported Sergeant Kixra as his team searched through what had been the human government buildings in Geneva. Everything is normal except there are no people. The same reports came from every human world the Council forces reached. New Terra, with its beautiful floating cities, was completely empty but perfectly maintained. The mining world showed signs of recent work but no workers. Research stations had experiments still running, but no scientists to monitor them. Zethkar could not understand it. Where could billions of humans have gone? How could an entire species disappear so completely? His best scientists examined the abandoned human technology, looking for clues. Dr. Nexus, the Council's leading expert on space-time physics, studied readings from Earth's laboratories. What she found made no sense according to everything she knew about science. Ambassador, she reported to Zethkar, the humans were working on quantum field manipulation, far beyond anything we thought possible. These equations suggest they were trying to alter the basic structure of matter itself. What does that mean? Zethkar demanded. I don't know, Dr. Nexus admitted. The mathematics are completely foreign to our understanding. It's as if they were approaching physics from a direction we never considered. Weeks passed. The Council sent investigation teams to every known human location in the galaxy. The results were always the same. Empty settlements with all the signs of recent life, but no actual life to be found. Councillor Mirren suggested they examine the records left behind in human computers. What they found was disturbing. Humans had been watching the Council for decades. They had detailed files on every Council species, their technology, their weaknesses, their history. The humans knew about the 17 species the Council had quietly eliminated over the centuries. They knew about the slave worlds disguised as protected territories. They knew about the Council's secret weapons and hidden bases. Somehow the humans had been gathering intelligence while pretending to be simple, aggressive primitives. They played us, Councillor Vexra said during an emergency meeting.
While we thought they were dangerous children,
they were studying us like scientists studying insects. But the most shocking discovery came from the planet Xerion, where humans had been working alongside the local population. The Xerions were a peaceful species that the Council had classified as useful but unimportant. When Council investigators arrived, they found the Xerions were gone too. Not just the humans, reported the investigation team leader. Every Xerion on the planet has vanished. Even their pets and livestock are missing. This changed everything. The humans had somehow made entire alien species disappear along with them. But how? And where had they all gone? Zethkar spent sleepless nights staring at star charts trying to find some pattern in the disappearances. His intelligence officers worked around the clock, following every possible lead. The Council's most advanced computers analyzed billions of data points, searching for any clue about humanity's fate. Then ships started disappearing from Council space. The first was a science vessel, studying an ancient artifact near the Galactic Rim. One moment it was transmitting normal reports. The next moment all contact was lost. When rescue ships arrived, they found empty space with no wreckage, no energy signatures, nothing to indicate what had happened. Within days, more ships vanished. A patrol craft near the Andorian Nebula, a diplomatic transport carrying trade negotiators, a military escort squadron protecting a supply convoy. All of them simply gone without any distress signals or signs of battle. The missing ships weren't random targets. Investigation revealed that they carried some of the Council's most important scientists, military commanders, and government officials. People who knew the Council's deepest secrets. Panic began to spread through Council space. If humans could make their own ships disappear, if they could reach into the heart of Council territory and take whatever they wanted, then no one was safe. How are they doing this? Zethkar demanded at another emergency meeting. Our ships have the best shields, the best weapons, the best sensors in the galaxy. Perhaps, said Ancient Silthus quietly, that is no longer true. The oldest member of the Council had been studying the reports with growing concern. In her long life, she had seen many species rise and fall, but she had never seen anything like humanity's disappearance. What if, she continued, the humans did not simply hide? What if they found a way to exist that we do not understand? What if they are still here, but in a form we cannot detect? The other Council members looked at her with confusion and fear. The idea that humans might still be present, watching, planning, was more terrifying than the thought that they had somehow escaped to distant stars. As if in response to their fears, every communication system in the Council chamber suddenly activated. Screens lit up with an image none of them had ever expected to see again. Admiral Sarah Chen appeared before them, as clear and solid as if she were standing in the room. But she was not standing in the room. She was somewhere else entirely, speaking to them across impossible distances. "Hello, Council," she said with a smile that made Zethkar's blood run cold. "I think it's time we had a talk." Admiral Sarah Chen's image vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. Zethkar was the first to recover, his scaled hands hitting the communication controls with desperate fury. "Trace that signal," he screamed at his technicians. "Find the source. I want to know where that transmission came from." But the technicians found nothing. The signal had appeared from nowhere and left no trail. Their most advanced tracking systems showed no record of any incoming transmission. It was as if Sarah Chen had spoken to them from inside their own equipment. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Nexus as she studied the readings. "The signal bypassed all our security systems. It appeared directly on our screens without any external source." Counselor Vexra's claws clicked nervously against her throne. "If they can reach us here in the heart of our most secure facility, then nowhere is safe." The next 3 months became the largest hunt in galactic history. Zethkar commanded fleets of ships to search every star system, every asteroid field, every space station. The Council offered massive rewards for any information about human whereabouts. They interrogated every species that had ever dealt with humans. The Kepler Mining Consortium had worked closely with humans on several asteroid mining projects. When Council investigators questioned their leaders, the aliens seemed confused by the questions. "Humans?" asked Chief Engineer Vrocka, scratching his furry head with 3 hands. "Oh yes, we worked with them for many years. Good people. Always treated us fairly, unlike some others." The investigator, a stern council officer named Tralex, leaned forward. "Where did they go? What did they tell you about their plans?" Vrocka shrugged. "They said they might have to leave someday. They helped us upgrade our mining equipment before they went. Very generous. They left us blueprints for machines we never could have built ourselves." This pattern repeated across the galaxy. Dozens of species reported that humans had helped them, shared technology, offered friendship without asking for anything in return. And in many cases, the humans had given these species tools and knowledge that made their lives much better. The Zephyrians, a water-dwelling species, had been struggling with pollution in their oceans for centuries. Human scientists had helped them develop cleaning systems that restored their world to health. The Crystalline Collective had been unable to defend themselves against space pirates until humans taught them how to build shield generators. They weren't trying to conquer anyone, reported Captain Melvar after interviewing the leaders of 6 different species. They were making friends, allies. Zethkar did not want to hear about human friendship. He wanted to find them and destroy them. But every lead ended in frustration. The humans had prepared for their disappearance very carefully. Investigation teams found hidden communication networks built into what looked like natural space phenomena. Asteroids that were actually relay stations. Gas clouds that contained quantum transmitters. Even some moons had been hollow and filled with human technology. Dr. Nexus made the most disturbing discovery while studying an abandoned human research station. "They've been watching us for decades," she reported to the Council. "This facility has detailed records of every council meeting, every military movement, every secret project we've worked on. The files showed that humans knew about Operation Silent Thunder, the Council's plan to eliminate 3 troublesome species. They knew about the secret weapons factories hidden in dead star systems. They even knew about the Council's plan to harvest the life energy from primitive worlds to power their advanced technology. How could they have learned all this?" demanded Councillor Gorthak. "Our security is perfect." "Apparently not," said Silthus dryly. "The humans were far more clever than we gave them credit for. The investigation revealed that humans had been using their trade relationships to place tiny spy devices throughout Council territory. Their diplomatic missions had carried hidden scanners. Even their simple cargo ships had been gathering intelligence while appearing to conduct normal business. But the most shocking revelation came when Dr. Nexus analyzed the quantum signatures left behind in human facilities. The readings made no sense according to current scientific understanding. "They've been experimenting with dimensional technology," she reported, her voice shaking. "According to these readings, they were trying to shift matter into parallel space-time layers." "What does that mean?" asked Zethkar. If I'm reading this correctly, Dr. Nexus said slowly, they weren't trying to hide. They were trying to exist in a different dimension while still being able to interact with our reality. The implications were terrifying. If humans had found a way to exist outside normal spacetime, they could be anywhere. They could be watching the Council right now from a place where they could not be detected or attacked. This theory seemed to be confirmed when more Council ships began disappearing. But these disappearances followed a pattern. The missing vessels all carried important Council members, military strategists, government officials, lead scientists. The crew of the battleship Dominator vanished while transporting Admiral Corthon to a secret meeting. The diplomatic vessel Harmony disappeared with Ambassador Yilrek aboard. Each time, the ships were found floating empty in space with no signs of struggle or damage. But then something unexpected happened. A message arrived at Council headquarters from Admiral Corthon himself. "This is Admiral Corthon of the Council Defense Fleet." The transmission began. The Admiral appeared healthy and unharmed, though he was clearly not on his own ship. Behind him was a room with strange, flowing walls that seemed to shift like liquid. "I am being held by humans in what they call a pocket dimension," he continued. "I am not hurt. They have been very polite, but they want me to tell you something important." The Admiral paused, clearly reading from something off-screen. "The humans say they have been collecting Council leaders to show them the truth about galactic history. They have evidence of crimes committed by the Council over thousands of years. They want us to see what they have learned." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Council in stunned silence. "Crimes?" sputtered Counselor Threnip. "What crimes?" "We have brought order to the galaxy." But Silthis was quiet, her ancient eyes thoughtful. She remembered things the other Council members had forgotten. Dark decisions made in the name of stability. Species that had been eliminated not because they were dangerous, but because they asked too many questions. More transmissions arrived over the following weeks. Each one showed a different missing Council member, all of them speaking from the same strange dimension. They reported being treated well, but they also spoke of evidence they had been shown. Evidence of genocide disguised as natural disasters. Evidence of slavery disguised as protection. Evidence of systematic oppression designed to keep the Council in power. The final transmission came from Admiral Corthon again. This time he looked directly into the camera with haunted eyes. "The humans are right," he said simply. "We are not the guardians of galactic peace. We are tyrants, and they have proof of everything." Zethkar destroyed the communication equipment in rage, but the damage was done. Word was spreading throughout Council space. The missing officials were talking, and their words were reaching the ears of species who had always wondered why the Council made certain decisions. Rebellions began on the outer worlds. Species that had been protected by the Council started demanding independence. The careful order that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was beginning to crack. And somewhere in the spaces between dimensions, humanity watched and waited for the right moment to return. The Council was meeting in their most secure chamber, deep within the fortress station that served as their capital. Every shield was active, every weapon system was armed, every sensor was scanning for threats. After months of disappearing ships and missing officials, they were taking no chances. Zethkar stood at the center of the circle, addressing his fellow Council members with barely controlled fury. "The rebellions are spreading. 12 systems have declared independence this week alone. Our authority is crumbling because of ghost stories and rumors." "Not ghost stories," said Counselor Vexra grimly. "The evidence our missing colleagues transmitted was very real. Very detailed. Species across the galaxy are learning things we never wanted them to know. Then we crush them." Zethkar slammed his fist on the central console. "We use the old methods. We make examples. We show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Council." Ancient Silthis shook her head sadly. "Violence will only prove that the humans were right about us. Perhaps it is time to consider that we have made mistakes." "Mistakes?" Zethkar's eyes blazed with rage. "We brought order to chaos. We created the most peaceful era in galactic history by eliminating anyone who disagreed with us," Silthis replied quietly. The argument might have continued, but it was interrupted by something impossible. A figure appeared in the center of the chamber, materializing from empty air as if stepping through an invisible door. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before them, as real and solid as if she had walked into the room. But she had not walked anywhere. The chamber's most advanced sensors showed nothing. No energy signature, no matter displacement, no quantum disturbance. She was simply there. "Good evening, Council," Sarah said politely. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Every weapon in the chamber turned toward her. Energy beams fired from a dozen different sources, each one powerful enough to destroy a battleship. The beams passed through Sarah's body as if she were made of light, striking the walls and floor behind her without causing any damage to her at all. "That's quite rude," Sarah observed, brushing an imaginary speck of dust from her uniform. "I come in peace and you try to shoot me." Zethkar's voice shook with fury and fear. "What are you? What have you become?" Sarah smiled, and for a moment she looked like any normal human military officer, middle-aged, competent, tired from long years of service. Then she gestured, and the air around her shimmered with colors that had no names. "We evolved," she said simply. "While you were busy maintaining your power, we were learning to become something new." "Impossible," Dr. Nexus whispered from her observation post. "Matter cannot exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The energy requirements alone would destroy any known technology." "Known to you," Sarah corrected gently. "You see, we had some advantages you didn't know about. We learned from every species we met. We took the best ideas from dozens of different civilizations and combined them in ways you never imagined." She gestured again, and holographic images appeared around the chamber. The images showed human scientists working alongside beings the Council had never seen before. Strange creatures from the deep void between galaxies. Ancient artificial intelligences that had existed since the universe was young. Energy beings from the heart of distant stars. "You thought we were alone out there," Sarah continued. "You thought you knew all the intelligent species in the galaxy. But there are others. Beings who learned long ago that physical existence is just one way to experience reality." Counselor Mirren leaned forward in her throne. "You made contact with the old ones. The legends speak of beings who transcended physical form eons ago." "Not just contact," Sarah said. "Partnership. They had been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for a species that was ready to join them. A species that valued growth over control, cooperation over domination. They chose you over us?" Zethkar's voice was filled with disbelief. Sarah's expression grew sad. "They offered the choice to everyone. Every species in the galaxy had the opportunity to evolve beyond physical limitations. But evolution requires letting go of old fears, old hatreds, old desires for power. Most species, including most of the Council races, were not ready." She walked toward Zethkar, her feet making no sound on the chamber floor. "But humans were ready. We had learned from our own history that cooperation creates more than conquest ever could. So when the old ones offered to teach us, we listened." "What do you want?" demanded Vexra. "Why did you return? Why not stay in your evolved state and leave us alone?" "Because the galaxy is bigger than just humans," Sarah replied. "Because there are millions of species out there who deserve the chance to grow and learn, and become something more than they are. And because you have been preventing that growth for 10,000 years." The holographic images changed, showing the secret history of the galaxy. Species that had been eliminated not for being dangerous, but for asking the wrong questions. Worlds that had been strip-mined to fuel the Council's technology. Entire civilizations that had been enslaved and told they were being protected. "We took your missing colleagues to show them this evidence," Sarah explained. "Not to hurt them, but to help them understand. Some of them have chosen to join us in working for real galactic peace. Others have asked to return home to help reform the Council from within." "Reform?" Zethkar laughed bitterly. "You think you can change 10,000 years of tradition with a few stories and magic tricks?" "Not magic," Sarah said firmly. "Science, understanding, evolution, and not just stories. Truth." She gestured once more, and Admiral Corthan appeared beside her. The Council military leader looked different somehow. His eyes held a depth they had never possessed before, as if he had seen things that changed his fundamental understanding of reality. "I have seen the evidence," Corthan said quietly. "I have spoken with the survivors of species we claimed never existed. I have walked through the ruins of civilizations we said destroyed themselves. The humans are right. We became the very thing we were supposed to protect the galaxy from." "Traitor," Zethkar snarled, but his words carried no real force. He could see the truth in Corthan's eyes, and it terrified him. "Not a traitor," Sarah said. A being who chose growth over stagnation, evolution over fear, hope over despair. She turned to address the entire council. We offer you the same choice we gave him. Join us in building something better. Help us create a galaxy where every species has the chance to reach its full potential, where cooperation replaces domination, where wisdom replaces force. And if we refuse? Asked Silthus, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Sarah's expression grew grave. Then you will be removed from power. Not destroyed, we are not you, but prevented from causing further harm. The galaxy has suffered enough under your rule. You cannot remove us, Zethkar declared. We have the most powerful military in galactic history. Had, Sarah corrected gently. Your weapons cannot hurt beings who exist partially outside normal spacetime. Your sensors cannot detect us when we choose to remain hidden. Your authority means nothing to species who have learned the truth about your past. As if to prove her point, alerts began sounding throughout the chamber. Reports flooded in from across council space. Entire fleets were surrendering to human forces that appeared from nowhere. Garrison commanders were laying down their weapons rather than fight beings they could not hope to defeat. Government officials were stepping down and calling for new elections supervised by neutral parties. The 10,000-year reign of the Galactic Council was ending, not with a great battle but with the simple realization that their time was over. Choose quickly, Sarah advised. Evolution or extinction, cooperation or removal. The galaxy is changing whether you help or not. The only question is whether you will be part of building something better, or just another relic of a darker time. The council members looked at each other, seeing fear and uncertainty in eyes that had never known doubt. For the first time in millennia, they faced a choice that would determine not just their own fate, but the future of every living being in the galaxy. The silence in the council chamber stretched for long minutes. 12 beings who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years stared at Admiral Sarah Chen, trying to understand how their perfect order had crumbled so completely. Counselor Mirren was the first to speak.
What exactly are you offering us?
What would this new galaxy look like? Sarah gestured, and the air filled with new images. These showed worlds where different species worked together as equals, cities where beings of all shapes and sizes lived in harmony, research stations where the greatest minds in the galaxy shared knowledge freely. A true cooperative, Sarah explained. No single species in control. No ancient bloodlines determining who has power. Just beings working together to help everyone reach their full potential. Impossible, Zethkar muttered, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Species are too different. They need guidance, structure, control. Do they? Sarah asked. Or do they need freedom to grow in their own way? She showed them recordings from the worlds that had declared independence from the Council. Instead of chaos, they saw cooperation. The Kepler Mining Consortium was sharing their human-upgraded technology with neighboring systems. The Zephyrians were helping other water worlds clean their oceans. The Crystalline Collective was teaching peaceful species how to defend themselves. Without the Council's restrictions, Sarah continued, species are already helping each other. They're forming natural alliances based on mutual benefit rather than fear. Ancient Silthus studied the images with her old, wise eyes. I see merit in what you propose, she said slowly. But what of the dangerous species? The ones who would conquer and destroy if not controlled? Like us? Sarah asked with a slight smile. That's what you called humans, remember? Too dangerous to be allowed freedom. You were dangerous, Vexra protested. You still are. Yes, Sarah agreed. We are very dangerous to tyrants and oppressors. We are deadly enemies of slavery and genocide. We are absolutely lethal to anyone who thinks they have the right to control other beings' lives. She paused, letting her words sink in. But to species who want to live in peace and grow and learn, we are the best friends they could ever have. More reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The human fleets that had appeared from dimensional space were not attacking or conquering. Instead, they were offering aid to species the Council had oppressed. They were sharing technology with worlds that had been kept primitive. They were teaching defensive techniques to species that had been forced to rely on Council protection. Gorthak, who had been silent through most of the confrontation, finally spoke. My people. What will happen to my people? We have been rulers for 8,000 years. It is all we know. Sarah's expression softened. Your people are strong and honorable when they're not being forced to oppress others. We need that strength to help rebuild damaged worlds. We need that honor to help create fair laws for the new galaxy. You would trust us with such responsibility after what we have done? Everyone deserves a chance to be better than they were, Sarah replied. Evolution is about growth, not punishment. But not all the council members were ready to accept change. Zethkar stood up from his throne, his forearms spread wide in defiance. I will not surrender everything my people have built. I will not bow to jumped-up primitives who think they can remake the galaxy. Then you choose extinction, Sarah said sadly. Not death, we are not murderers, but irrelevance. Your people will be free to live peaceful lives, but they will never again have power over others. Zethkar raised his hands, and energy weapons hidden in his armor activated. Powerful beams designed to kill energy beings struck Sarah directly. Once again, the weapons passed through her as if she were made of light. I'm not actually here, she explained gently. I'm projecting this image from a dimension you cannot reach. You can no more hurt me than you can grab your own shadow. Zethkar collapsed back into his throne, defeated. Around the chamber, the other council members were making their own choices. Miran nodded slowly, accepting the new reality. Gorthak bowed his massive head in submission. One by one, most of the council members chose evolution over extinction, but not all of them. 3 council species chose to fight, rather than change. Their fleet struck out across the galaxy, trying to reclaim worlds that had declared independence. They lasted exactly 6 hours. Human ships appeared from dimensional space like ghosts materializing in a nightmare, but these ships were not alone. They were accompanied by vessels from the old ones, beings of pure energy, who had existed since the galaxy was young. Ancient artificial intelligences that controlled matter at the quantum level joined the battle. Even the space between stars seemed to fight against the Council holdouts. The battles were completely one-sided. Council weapons could not target enemies that existed partially outside normal space-time. Council shields could not stop attacks that came from impossible angles. Council sensors could not track ships that moved through dimensions they did not know existed. When the fighting ended, the surviving Council fleets surrendered. Their crews were given the same choice as their leaders: join the new order or be relocated to peaceful worlds where they could do no harm. Most chose to join. 6 months later, the galaxy looked very different. The Great Council Fortress Station had been converted into a library and research center, open to all species. The secret weapons that had enforced Council rule were being dismantled by teams of former enemies working together. On the world of New Harmony, representatives from 200 different species met to write the charter for the new galactic government. There were no thrones, no hierarchy based on age or military power. Instead, species earned influence by contributing to the common good. The Zephyrians, whose oceans had been restored by human technology, became the galaxy's leading experts on environmental healing. The former Council species found new purposes. Gorthak's people became the galaxy's peacekeepers, using their strength to protect rather than oppress. Miran's species became teachers, sharing their wisdom with younger civilizations. Even some of Zethkar's people joined the new order, though Zethkar himself chose exile on a distant world where he could harm no one but himself. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the research station that had once been the Council's seat of power. But she was not alone. Beside her stood beings from dozens of different species, all of them working together to plan a better future. Admiral, said Dr. Park, the human scientist who had helped develop dimensional technology, we're receiving requests for aid from 3 more systems, species that have been hiding in the Outer Rim for centuries, afraid to reveal themselves while the Council was in power. Sarah nodded. Send teams to help them. Everyone deserves the chance to join the galactic community if they choose. Through the observation window, she could see ships from across the galaxy docking at the station. Some carried scientists eager to share their discoveries. Others brought artists and musicians ready to create beauty that celebrated the diversity of life. Still others carried diplomats working to solve conflicts through cooperation rather than force. A young Zerion approached Sarah, one of the species that had vanished along with humanity months earlier. Admiral Chen, the being said in its musical voice, my people want to thank you again for including us in your exodus. We learned so much in the dimensional spaces. We learned from you too, Sarah replied. Your music helped us understand harmonies we never could have discovered alone. The Zerion's colors shifted to show pleasure and pride. Will humanity remain in the galaxy now? Or will you return to the dimensional spaces? Sarah smiled. We'll be wherever we're needed. Sometimes that will be in normal space, working alongside our friends. Sometimes it will be in the dimensions between, exploring new possibilities. The wonderful thing about evolution is that it never stops. She looked out at the busy spaceport, where beings who had been enemies for millennia were now working side by side. It was not perfect. There were still conflicts to resolve, still species that needed help, still problems that required creative solutions. But for the first time in galactic history, everyone had a voice in creating those solutions. On a small world in a quiet system, a child looked up at the stars and asked her parent about the strange ships that sometimes appeared in their sky. Ships that seemed to fade in and out of existence like dreams made real. Those are the gardeners, her parent explained, using the name the galaxy had given to humanity. They help things grow. Will I ever see them? If you need them, her parent said with certainty, they will be there. And in the spaces between dimensions, in the quantum foam that existed beneath reality itself, humanity watched over the galaxy they had helped to free. They were no longer entirely human, but they remembered what it meant to be small and afraid and in need of help. They remembered what it felt like to be told they were not good enough, not old enough, not wise enough to make their own choices. They had sworn that no species would ever feel that way again. And they had the power to keep that promise. The galaxy belonged to everyone now, and everyone was free to make it into something beautiful.